Cameron Ciraldo.
Honestly thought he would not even challenge for NRL level. United inspiring that Bulldog army.
You can see it's the sort of side that you'd love to be part of.
But he just got better and better as a different Stephen Crichton than the one I left at Penrith.
Full time at Belmore, listen to the crowd.
Cameron Ciraldo, very special guest in here. Before we get into, the Bulldogs, your playing career, your coaching career, me and Jack saw you up at Mick Fanning's golf day a few weekends ago, and you were telling us a funny story about, I don't know if you know this, Matthew, about you and Matthew's first ever interaction when you were just a boy.
Yeah, I was 17. So
Well, that's a boy.
it was,
We better get quick to the story because people are going, well, what's this?
it was actually my first ever time at Northies. I snuck in with a fake ID at 17 and we didn't have much money to our name then, and we had a good night at Northies and we're on our way home and had no money for a cab, so we tried to hitchhike home, me and my mate, and all of a sudden the cab pulls up and says, "Where you going, boys? Jump in." And we looked around and that's Matty Johns with Trish in the back. And so Matty drove us home at 17, our first night at Northies, and yeah, it was awesome. We were stoked.
What was the conversation like in the car? What's he talking about in there? Because Matthew can dribble when he's drunk.
Jibber jabber.
I
Yeah.
can't remember, actually. It was a pretty short trip.
That's a long time ago. We're talking about 23 years ago.
Well, I thought it might have had a big it sounded like it had a huge impact on him. He can't even remember what happened in the car.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get straight into a bit of Bulldogs chat before we get into your life. A massive, successful season for the Doggies this year. How are you feeling going into the first finals that the Dogs have seen in a long time?
We're enjoying every day at the moment. Just we enjoyed every day all year, actually. It's been a really enjoyable year. We've got a really good crew, a group of guys that have come together. We hadn't played together at the start of the year, and the way they've come together as a group and the way they've connected has been, I've just been real privileged to be a part of it and witness it. So honestly, we just enjoy going to work every day and having a laugh, and the boys are working hard. So it's been successful so far, but we still feel like we've got a long way to go.
Geez, the players have been impressive away from football too, like they're interviewed. Because in recording this, you're just back from New Zealand. You beat the Warriors over there, it's 5 in a row, and after every victory at the moment, there's celebrations in the streets of Belmore. It really is. It's awesome. I mean, sometimes you think, we've got to keep a lid on it, but when you get the momentum, and those fans deserve it. But amongst all the hysteria and fanfare and praise, the players have really, when they're interviewed, remained grounded. How have you managed that, Cira?
Oh, we spend a lot of time on that. We actually talk about this quite a lot, just embracing opportunities and atmospheres, but also bringing yourself back to staying present and being neutral. And we've done a lot of work on the, sort of above the shoulders and mental skills during the season. And they're really mature, this group, even though they're young, being able to get hyped up and then come back to neutral and go again. And they've really embraced the sort of the scenes we've seen around Belmore. It's actually inspiring our boys, so why not embrace it?
Did it concern you initially when all of a sudden, midway through the season, the praise really started flowing?
No, it didn't. Honestly, it didn't, because it's actually a really unique club. The Belmore area, the community, it's very unique, and it's something this group's had a real purpose on uniting, inspiring that Bulldog army. And they're getting a lot of praise lately, but at the start of the year, we actually had to show them the little wins they were having, because there wasn't a whole lot of belief there, and no one was praising us at the start of the year. We lost our first 2 games, and everyone was saying, here we go again. So for us in the background, we were trying to show all the little wins we were having and all the good stuff, and now it's actually nice that it's coming from the outside in, but the boys are very honest and understand what we're doing well and what we need to improve. That's good.
How do you do that now? Because obviously at the start you're trying to build the team up, show them how good they can be. Now that they've found that groove, going into finals, are you showing them a lot of negative stuff? Are you showing them where they can improve on?
Well, it honestly hasn't changed. Like every time we go into a video, here's some things we can do better, and here's some things we're doing really well, and that sort of style hasn't changed since the first couple of losses at the start of the year and winning a couple on the trot now.
I'm really conscious in this interview not to lead you down the path of praise, because all the hard work's still ahead of you blokes. But what I really like about the Bulldogs this year is that you've got your own unique style. I liken it a lot of ways to those Tim Sheen's Tiger sides in around 2005 in the fact that it's a high IQ, high-skilled game of football. My question to you, Ciro, is this. When chicken or the egg? Did the style of players that you bought, did it dictate the style, or did you have in mind how you wanted to play and recruit it accordingly?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a little bit of both. I don't think we truly found our style until probably 6 weeks ago. I think it was a lot of trial and error for the first probably 19 rounds. Some things worked, some didn't. Then we were able to have the last bye and sort of sit down and have a look at what was working and what wasn't. And I think we've found our groove the last 6 weeks, but we still feel like there's another couple of levels in us that we'd like to find over the next few weeks. But obviously with the way we wanted to play, especially around defence, we needed guys who were fit and mobile. And our recruitment strategy was more around character than anything. It was all about getting good people who want to work hard but are also good connectors of people. It's very hard to put a group of guys together these days and get guys to become cohesive. So you need guys that are good connectors of people, and that's something that we really looked at in our recruitment. You guys like Jamin Salmon and Connor Tracy and Josh Curran and Kurt Mann and Jake Turp and Drew Hutchison. They're all really good connectors of people, and that was one of the most important things we were looking for.
Geez, you got them improving, some of those players. I mean, you could see there was quality in those players, but you've got them there and given them consistency. Connor Tracy, it's funny, a couple of your players that I've seen coming through the grades, it's like they had no breaks and they lacked a certain focus. Connor Tracy, who Jack played with at South, mate, everything was just a million miles an hour. Kurt Mann at Newcastle, he struggled for focus. He came up with a lot of errors. He struggled for breaks. With those guys... trying to get the right question here. When those guys arrived, what were some of the things you did with them, Ciro, to find their focus?
Well, I think a lot of them were really good players that had limited opportunities at other clubs. Like, Connor Tracy was a good player, but he was sort of bouncing around fullback, centre, wing at Cronulla. He was behind a pretty good back line there. A lot of them just needed an opportunity to play regular first grade in a regular position and just sort of being able to have that time to build their game. Kurt's probably a bit the same. His utility value probably worked against him at times, and we've seen that with plenty of players over the years. So being able to go buy good players out of good systems and just give them a pretty simple role, I think it's benefited them individually and probably benefited us as a team.
You can answer this if you want to, and any time through this, I don't want to give away any secrets, but do you place, restrictions is the wrong word, do you put firewalls around players? Say, for instance, Kurt, and say, I don't want you to go there. Is there a little bit of that?
There's a structure that we want to play with, but there's a freedom within inside that as well. And I think that's one of our greatest strengths is we've got systems and structures in place that's best for the team. But if you see something within that, you've got every chance to go with that. And I think Kurt's probably a good example of that. He's been able to play within the structure at times, but then he can fall out of that and do things that his natural ability allows. He's got some of the best footwork I've ever seen. So when he's able to do that and move his feet and skip across and find someone else, so that's stuff you can't coach, and that's where you've got to let him go at different times, I feel like.
It's funny when you talk about some of those players who now they're household names in that Bulldogs side, but they've been bouncing around clubs for a long time and coming in and out of reserve grade. And once you give them a chance in one position, like Tyron Wishart, for example, this year, he's at the Storm the last couple of years. He's notched up 50 games now, but played wing, centre, 14, hooker, and he really cemented a good few games when Munster went down at 6, and his confidence is just...
He's found his football.
Yeah, really found his football. One player I wanted to ask you about, Toby Sexton, Sex Bomb, who we've had a fair bit to do with. Started the year in reserve grade, but now he's really cemented his spot at halfback there. He's been a key part of that squad. What did you see? What changes did you see to Toby?
Well, we're really excited about... We brought Toby down at the end of last year, and there was some good things in his game, and he's sort of done the hard part of his career as a halfback, the first 40 games or so, and over the pre-season, he just had a couple of things he needed to work on, and we were lucky enough that we had Drew and him there sort of battling it out for that number 7 spot. And to Toby's credit, he went back to New South Wales, worked on those things relentlessly, waited for his opportunity, and when he got it, he took it. His character is first class. Like, he is such a great person. Never once dropped his lip, just always put the team first. But in the background was just building his game till he got his opportunity. I think he's just a great example for any kid that goes back to New South Wales Cup and has to work on their craft. That 1, you have a good attitude. 2, you keep working hard. And 3, when your opportunity comes, you're confident enough to take it.
I saw him at the airport once you guys were there, we saw he was at the airport that day, and he was playing reserve grade at that point, with New South Wales Cup. And I went up and said, "Oh, mate, I've been watching you play a bit of Cup. You're playing good." And he said, "Yeah, no." He said, "I'm really good." I said, "How you keeping up in your spirits?" He said, "No, I'm as good as gold." He said, "I'll get my start soon." Yeah. That's a great attitude to have.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite? Because most coaches got like one or two little favourites in their back pocket. It seems like you and Toby got it. I saw you guys did the Fletch and Hindy on Dad's show, and it seemed like you guys a lot of good stories and banter between each other.
Oh, he's awesome. We've got so many good people. I love them all, honestly. Like, I love going to work every day with this group. There's such good fun to be around, and the banter's good. You feel like you're back playing again sometimes. But, yeah, Toby's one of them. Jake Turpin's another one that's a real good value guy.
Sarah, I've got to stop
one
you.
Of your men.
Let's not beat around the bush. We know who it is. It's Stephen Crichton. Mate, Ciro. Oh, mate, he has... I mean, you knew you were getting a terrific player when you blokes signed him. But at the back end of the Origin series last year, you saw him go up a notch, and he's just gone up another level or two again. When you talk about... I look and I think, some of the greatest signings of the modern era, as far as impact is concerned, he's definitely one of them. You got Lazo, 92, 93, went to the Broncos, hadn't won anything. You got Cooper Cronk, 2018, 2019 at the Roosters, and you got Thurston at the Cowboys. But those clubs they were ripe, ready to go. Lazo, Wayne Bennett bought Lazo there because he was the last piece of the puzzle they needed to win. Where Steve Crichton went there, Ciro, you needed so much from him, and he's delivered on it all.
Yeah, he's been unreal. He's just a winner. Like, he understands what winning looks like. He turns up wanting to win every day, and his preparation feeds into that, and he's just made such an impact. And the scary thing, he's only 23, and he's never going to stop having that hunger to win. Like, I just know it.
Did you always plan on making him captain when you signed him?
No,
Ciro?
not at all. No. The guy, the Stephen Crichton I left at Penrith was a good kid, and he worked hard, but I wasn't sitting there thinking he's going to be a captain one day. But I've got to say, the moment he walked in the doors at Belmore, it was a different Stephen Crichton to the one I'd left at Penrith, and it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that he was going to be the leader.
Was there what did you see at Drake? Was there a moment when you were like, oh, he's going to be our skipper for the year?
Yeah, it wasn't crossing my mind early because Reid and Birdo, I felt like had done the first 12 months and done the hard yards, and they were going to grow from that. So it wasn't a consideration early. But his first week, Stephen was into an army camp, and the way he walked into that army camp and just took hold of the team, we're all sitting there going, holy shit, this is incredible. But then for the 6 weeks after that, back at training, he just led, and he had impact, and people followed him. So, yeah, it got to the point where we just had to make him the captain, and the guys around that, like Reid and Birdo especially, have been so supportive of him.
Good news or the bad news, Stephen? I'll take the good news. Good news is you're captain. What's the bad news? You're captain. You don't know. Sometimes it can be a tough job. I get a real good idea and a feel for players when they come on the show.
Yeah,
because you're talking to them before the show in the ad breaks. Crichton had such amazing presence.
Yeah.
You sit there in the ad break and you're having a bit of a discussion about things, and he's just staring you straight between the eyes. And the other one that really struck me was Jacob Kraz was on with him, who was terrific. But when I asked a question, what do you think, with the Titans there? Critter would pause and Jacob wouldn't fill the space. So Critter found himself answering all the time. And I'm sitting there, I asked a question again, and there was vision so people couldn't see it, but he slapped Kraz on the leg and said, step up. I thought that said a lot about him.
He's just, again, for a 23-year-old, he's so mature that he understands, when the energy's down, when someone needs to get involved more, how to bring people along on the journey with him. It's incredible. Yeah,
Jacob Preston said a funny thing about him the other day. I was like, oh, how's... And he goes, when Stephen Crichton came in, it was so weird. I think Presto's a year under Critter anyway. But he was like, I've just never seen someone ooze so much confidence. He's like, it's obviously come from being at a club that's just on a three-peat and just won 3 premierships. And he's got 3 premiership rings and he's played Origin and stuff. But he said for a 23-year-old, they're still at a club that hadn't played a lot of finals footy. There's probably a fair bit of insecurity and stuff around people's football, not feeling safe in their position because they haven't been successful. But he said the Stephen Crichton effect when they came in, it just brought all of their confidence up so much.
So, a question for you then. Right. A coach and a captain's relationship, particularly with a bloke like Stephen, who's so important to elevating everybody else around. My final year when I played at Cronulla under Chris Anderson, we had Brett Kamali. And I'm telling you now, if Noddy threw the ball at my ankles and I dropped it, he blamed me for it. And after a while, I sort of got it. I went up there and I remember after training session, this is what happened all the time. We do a video session, it was always Johnsy's fault. And I said, Jesus Christ, I hope she didn't miss me in the meeting. He goes, Matty, we're going to understand this. He said, even the things that are Noddy's fault, he said, I'm putting them on you because I know you can handle them. He said, Noddy's almost the centerpiece of this team. I can't afford for him to lose confidence. Now, I'm not saying Stephen would lose confidence, but how do you approach that? You're sitting in the team meeting, everyone's there, and all of a sudden Critter does, let's just say, a costly error. How do you address that?
Quickly, I don't have to.
Yeah,
he'll do it before I have to.
Yeah.
He'll take ownership of it straight away. That's the sort of person he is. But it's lucky, we've got a really good relationship and a long-standing one. It's, I first got into coaching his brother. His brother was one of the guys in the first sort of team I was involved in. He was one of the guys that made me want to become a coach, just being involved with the development of kids at that age, around 17, 18, sort of SG ball level. So I sort of met Critter through that period, and that was like 2013, 14, 15. Yep. So I've known him a long time. We're just on the same page with a lot of things. Like the trainers come back, sometimes they'll send a message out and the trainers will say, Critter's already said it out there exactly what you wanted. So it's pretty lucky to have that long-standing relationship. But in terms of your story there, like he just puts his hand up and takes ownership of things. Sometimes they're not even his fault, but he'll set the tone with that.
Now, you said when you signed him, you didn't have him earmarked to be captain automatically. When you guys signed him originally, they were talking about... Certainly the media were talking about, he's been signed to play fullback. Was that the case originally?
That was an option, but it wasn't signed to play fullback. We sort of, When he came over and we spoke about him coming to the Bulldogs, I asked him, I said, are you coming here just to play fullback? And he said, no, I'll come and do whatever's best for the team. And straight away I was like, he needs to come to us. Because that's, again, you don't want people coming to your club for a promise or this or that.
That's right.
He just wanted to come because he felt like he could make an impact at the Dogs. And we did have a look at playing him fullback, but he got a quad injury in pre-season, sort of limited his amount of training. So it was just easy for him to start in the centres. Okay,
second part of that question. When he started the season, he was playing left centre. Bronson Xerri has emerged and been phenomenal. And a lot of time, I think a lot of the things Critter has done has sort of overshadowed how good Bronson has been. Yeah. But he automatically shifted to the right-hand side of the field. Was that a conversation between, or who initiated that conversation? Was it you, Ciro, that asked him, or did he come forward and say, I'll shift?
I think I initiated it, but there's never been a pushback from Critter on anything. He would not care if he was playing right wing, left wing, centre, wing, fullback. He doesn't care. He's always been just about what's best for the team, and he openly says that, but he means it. A lot of people say it, but he genuinely means it. So as soon as I sort of said Bronson's a legitimate left centre, and it sort of made sense. And Critter was all over it. He was all for it.
He's a phenomenal athlete in the sense where that old coaching saying where you say you don't weaken one position just to strengthen another. That rule almost completely goes out the window with Stephen Crichton because he's not someone that can just play left or right, or he's not just a centre, play fullback. Sometimes plays 5'8", winger, centre, any side of the field, and every single position you put him at, he does the same job.
Yeah,
mate, that feet. Size of the foot. When I was sitting there in the shower, I was looking at his feet. He was wearing Adidasslers, like the sort of street shoes. And, mate, size of the feet, but also the fact that how wide his feet were. His feet were almost oozing over the sole of the shoe, like a big pavlova on a little plate. It was just, I was watching it going, Jesus, massive. And you shake the hand, massive hands. Yeah. He was terrifying.
Yeah, he's a big dude, a big, long, rangy dude. Bronson Xerri, what's he been like after 4 years out of the game?
He's been so good. Honestly, when we signed him, it was a bit of a project, and honestly thought he would not even challenge for NRL level till at least halfway through the year.
Really?
I thought, you haven't played for 4 years. It's actually going to be a challenge to play 80 minutes. Like, those speed power guys, like it's a big effort to get through 80 minutes when you're that powerful. And I thought him doing the speed and weights for the last 4 years, it's going to take him a while to get the motor. And his first couple of training sessions, he couldn't even finish them. Like
Oh, really?
yeah,
right.
he had a couple of issues there at the start, and we were doing just some laps one day, and he was so far behind, and I was into him a little bit, saying, "You sure you still want to do this?" And he was going, "I want to do this." Like he was so adamant, he wanted to keep. He was here to, and he meant business. But he just got better and better and better every day and every week, to the point where he nearly forced us to pick him in round 1. But I just wanted to see a few more games out of him, and I think it was round 5 he got his opportunity, and he hasn't looked back. And again, he's such a good character. He's worked so hard, and he just continues to want to get better every day.
He's such a multi-dimensional player in the fact that he's a terrific finisher. You can give him the ball early. He can hit a gap for you. But, mate, he's working yardage.
It's the tough stuff he's doing that's impressed me the most. Like you saw the highlight stuff from him early in his career and what he could do, but the yardage carries, the defence, the effort on kick chase, like that's all the stuff he's doing really well that we're valuing.
And Cyril, I won't ask you to comment on this. I'll talk to Cooper on it. But it was really funny when the State of Origin stuff was going on. I forget what it was. There was an injury cloud over one of our centres. Someone said, "Who would you put in?" I said, "I tell you, I'd be tempted to put in Bronson Xerri. I know it's his first game back, but you talk about a bloke that's built to play that standard of
on
football.
That left too.
It's him.
Yeah, that was when I think it was when Latrell and Bradman were out, and there was no one else to go in there.
Well, I reckon he'll be there the next few years. I reckon he'll get a taste. Matty Burton, watching him play last year, Cyril, at times he looked miserable in himself. At the start of the first round or two, he you could see there was almost the demons of last year, and then bang, things have just swung for him. He looks not just a completely different player, looks a completely different person.
Yeah, he's a lot fitter this year. He came off the back of that kangaroo tour last year and didn't start training till January. Got a quad strain or something, so he went into the season without enough work. And the way we're going as a team and sort of on the field and off the field, he had a lot of that on his shoulders. But from the day he come back to pre-season this year, he had a point to prove, and he's worked really hard to get himself fit, and worked really hard on his game the whole season. I feel like he's getting better every week as well, and he's matured off the field. He's got a young family now, and he played his 100th game last week, so he's really starting to feel comfortable at our club and in that sort of leadership role as well.
You can tell, like watching you blokes, you said before, got some great characters. It's great to turn up to work. You can see it's the sort of side that you'd love to be part of because you've got great characters there, like Fox. I mean, in my opinion, one of the greatest coaches / managers of all time was Gus Hiddink, the great Dutchman. You know, he coached PSV Eindhoven, Real Madrid, of course, coached the Socceroos, all the big clubs. And in his book, he speaks about the importance of Rascals. He said you need rascals and characters in your dressing room. It's because they're the ones that elevate the room, get them going. And mate, you've got some beauties. I mean, Fox.
I've got a few of them.
You've also got too many. Seriously,
you can't get away with anything at our joint. No matter what I'd wear, I'm going to cop crap because someone's got a problem with this or that. We've got some poorly dressed players, but I don't know how I'm getting picked on. Yeah. Preston number 1.
Yeah, the football's not that. It's not a snazzy dresser either. He must cop so. Oh, Gussie boy.
He does actually.
Yeah. Sorry, just on last year. Like last season was hard jacker. Everybody tells you a head coaching job how difficult it is at an NRL level. You acknowledge it and you say, yeah, I know. But once you get in the hot seat, can you tell me what it was like?
Well, look, I think everyone forgets last year. The first half of the year, we actually did some good things. We had a pretty high injury toll, and we had a really good win down in Melbourne. There's some other games there we competed really hard. I think we're sort of 5 from 12 at the middle part of the year. We saw some things we needed to work on, but it wasn't until that middle part of the year that we uncovered some cracks and realised we needed to make some change. And then there was the day against Newcastle, we got pumped, and it was like, all right, what we're doing, we're going to have to change our sort of tact here. And we knew we're going to have to bring in some different people. And I thought we did a good job of that, as we spoke about before with recruitment. But I don't think anything you can do, there's nothing you can do that can prepare you for that. You just got to go through it, and you find out if you're really going to stick to your principles when you go through that.
Did you know that going there? Like, did you know that leaving Penrith as, like, such a successful club when you were assistant there under Ivan, but Did you know that going there it was going to be a tough year for you, or did you have a lot of optimism coming out of the preseason?
Yeah, I think we're all optimists, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, we're all sitting there thinking, get a bit of luck and this can happen and this can happen, we can improve. But, again, we put a lot of work in and got to that day against Newcastle, and I realised what a few things that needed to change. So we did that, and, we could have changed a lot more things, but we stuck to the real, things that we believed in. And this year, especially around our defence, that's been really pleasing to see that we stuck to the same system and just got people who believed in it and turned it around.
Again, citing Chris Anderson, he used to say all the time that a coach doesn't know what type of coach he's going to be until he loses 3 in a row, and he's got to find his way out.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during that tough time?
We lost 3 in a row pretty early in the season, I think, last year. So, I saw Chris told me that as well, and so I was thinking, well, this is a good challenge now, and that was okay. We bounced back and won a few more, but then the end of the season we finished with 4 straight losses and had to carry that into the pre-season. There was a lot of noise around, and that was probably the toughest period when you're actually away from footy, and you're not around the boys every day and see when you're in there and you're working hard and you can see everyone working hard. It gives you a lot more peace.
Yeah.
But when you're away from everyone, and you're carrying the burden of 4 losses and what's going to happen next year, that was probably the toughest period.
It's funny, isn't it, Ciro? When you first got the job, and I've seen this a million times, when people go, okay, Billy Bloggs has been given this job. It's a tough job. It's going to be a slow build. He's going to give plenty of time. And the moment you lost 3 in a row, they'll say, God, he's under some pressure now. Don't they? It's just the way it happens.
Yeah. I'd sort of mentally prepared for that, though. Like, I think in explaining it to my kids, there's a lot of people saying I'm getting this job now and whatever they're saying on TV. At some stage, they're going to say I'm hopeless and I've got no idea what I'm doing. Don't believe what's being said now and don't believe what's being said then. And I think in explaining it to them and having them prepared, it sort of had me prepared. And
I was going to ask you about that. How tough has it been on the family? I mean, at the moment, I imagine everyone things are travelling well, but during the tough times, it must take a toll.
Yeah, the family's been fine. They're actually just enjoying living back in the Shire and being around the beach. I don't think they give too much thought to footy. My young bloke, he's 8. He's got a bit of a good memory of everything that's said on TV. So he hears about coaches being sacked and people bagging me, and he would just walk around going, "Dad, are you getting sacked soon? Are you going to get sacked soon? How long till you get sacked?"
No, there's a few to go before you, Darren. We could name them, but we won't. Are your kids doggy supporters?
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
They were always.
Took a while to get them over the line, but this year's helped.
Yeah, it would have been now. What about? We spoke about him just before, Gus Gould, because were you with Gus at Penrith as well?
Yeah. Gus signed me to Penrith as a player, from Newcastle and had 2 years there, and then he gave me a job on the coaching staff in welfare and education firstly, and then into coaching after that. So he played a big part in my life. I actually went down. I had to go meet him at Gosford Macca's from Newcastle to talk about coming down as a player, and I had to meet him there at 1:00. Got there at 10-1, a bit nervous, and thought I better get there on time. So I looked over, and he's in Macca's eating a Big Mac. So I said, I'll walk over and sit down. I sat down, and he said, "Righto, this is the deal, 2 years." And I said, "Sweet, I'll take it." No negotiation, no nothing. I was out of there by 5-1 back on the road to Newcastle. So yeah, I'm glad he signed me.
Yeah.
Well, it's an important thing. No matter how old you are, any field, you need mentors, people to bounce things off. How important was Gus last year to you?
So important. Yeah, so important. He warned me about how hard the first year was going to be, and me being optimistic and probably a bit young in the head, I suppose.
You're like, she'll be right, Gus.
No, we'll be right. But he was right. But again, in your darkest times, that's where he showed his real value and great support there, and understood he'd been through it before, so he understood what was going to happen and the support I needed. So he was awesome.
You two blue?
All the time.
You do?
Yeah.
What is how?
Well, we don't blue, but we don't.
But we
don't agree on everything. But then we're happy to agree to disagree and move on. And he's been awesome on that. And that's the beauty of working together for 12 years, that you don't have to agree on everything. But we agree on the big things.
Yeah. Okay. Who wins those arguments? Or it just stays
He
at
probably
Stalemate.
thinks he does, and I think I do. But a bit of silent treatment, then we get on with it.
You said before about, if we go back another step again, we're sort of doing things in reverse here, but, your time at Penrith. In 2015, you coach Penrith under-20 side. Great season. You win the competition. Win 20 from 24 games. Who was in that side, Ciro?
Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Brent Naden, Robert Jennings,
Edwards, Dylan?
Christian Crichton, Dylan Edwards.
Geez, how'd you end up getting a job? Only 20 from 24.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
geez, that's a
I
great
was,
side.
I was so blessed to my first coaching job to be with that crew, and I'm missing a few out there. There's a lot more players that played first grade. Corey Waddell and Christian Crichton and Corey Harawira-Naira, Tyrone May.
Jeez.
There was heaps of them, but they were such a good crew to be part of.
Tell me about Dylan Edwards as a young bloke.
He came down as a 5'8". I think he came down to play SG ball, and he didn't get much of a run there. So we didn't see much of him play SG ball, but he came into the NYC program the next year, and he just won everything. Like he just every fitness drill, every run, he just won it. So I got to the start of the year, and we had, I think Brent Naden was playing fullback, and we sort of had every other position filled, and then we needed a winger. And I said, well, he's got to play. He's won everything in pre-season. He's just got to play. So he ended up on the wing. I think the week after he played centre, the week after he played hooker, the week after he played lock, and then eventually he got to go at fullback, and he was like, that was where he felt at home. He's just one of the hardest workers I've ever seen.
One of the reasons I've got so much respect for him, not just his work rate and his toughness and all the things you just spoke about, is I really trust and admire players who go through difficult times and have the intelligence to come out the other end. And I remember a number of years ago going to Penrith, he was going through a really difficult point. He was playing reserve grade and he had the yips. The ball went up in the air. You could see he just didn't want to be under it. At one point, the ball went up in the air and you could see he deliberately moved out of the way. What was behind that, Ciro? How did he get through it?
Oh, yeah, it sort of, I think it was a game against Melbourne where he sort of got the ball stripped a couple of times, and, he just lost a bit of confidence there, and credit to him, he had to go back to New South Wales Cup, work on his game, but he also had to go and do a lot of mental skills work, and
right.
He did it. He did the work, and came back a bigger and better player, and even some of the stuff he had to deal with after that, like when we did start to go on a run, and there was a lot of commentary around Penrith couldn't win a comp with Dylan Edwards at fullback, and
Jesus,
they look like fools now, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At the time, he was very unorthodox for a fullback in the sense where he did so much work as kick return, but he wasn't in your silky ball playing fullback.
Everyone expected every fullback to be Slater.
Yeah.
That's...
And now he's the mould. Like, you look at his mould now, like, he's obviously state of origin fullback.
Yeah. But he's also, he doesn't get enough credit for his defence as well. He's got to be probably the best defensive fullback in the comp. His organisation of the line, the way he saves tries, the clean-up work he does, is
he a really good boxer as well, I've heard? I heard a few of the boys say he'd win all the fights. Is that any truth to that?
Well, the Pioneer Tavern.
He can throw it. I feel that, is there not a story is there a story you're holding back?
No. I reckon there's a few. He does get a bit lippy on the piss.
Does he?
A few beers, he gets very confident and he knows he can throw them, so he's...
Really?
One of the most polite, well-mannered players you'll ever meet. Gets very confident on the piss, and I hope he sees this.
The old loudmouth too. The rise of Nathan. What was you like as a young bloke in the under-20s?
Just polite, very quiet. He was the ball boy before that. When I was playing, he was the ball boy.
Was he?
Yeah, just incredible. Coming under-20s, I think Jerome was the guy that was touted to be the next big thing, and Nathan was a good player, but he was just a bit behind Jerome. But, in a pre-season, Nathan developed physically and got an opportunity a lot earlier. But... speaking of hard work, like he's just made himself through repetition. Like he's just the amount of work he puts in the video room, reps on the field, the amount of kicking he does. He's just and the work he's done on the mental side of the game as well. Like he had to deal with a lot of pressure, Nathan. Around that 2018, 2019 period when he first went into Origin, and then we had a pretty poor year 2019, and. How he was able to come out the other side of that and what he's turned himself into now is, again, I feel really privileged to witness that from the outside.
It's amazing that crop of Penrith young blokes, and we spoke about Stephen Crichton, but Stephen Crichton, Brian Toto, Jerome, like they're transforming like suburbs out there. You know, problematic suburbs like Mount Druitt now. I remember Ty Tulvasa, I was talking to him, he's a Mount Druitt boy. And I said, geez, mate, you Mount Druitt blokes kicking goals? He said, yeah, it's funny. He said, when I was growing up, someone said you're from Mount Druitt, they'd move the other way. Now everyone wants to be from Mount Druitt. It's cool to be from Mount Druitt.
Yeah.
Which is, astound all those young blokes.
Yeah, it shows the impact you can have, like when you do go out there and you hold yourself as a good person and do good things on the field, the amount of people you can inspire, and those guys have done that. They've done it so well.
Ivan, working with Ivan, what's that like? Because he's closed shop. You don't see a lot,
I really enjoyed playing under him, firstly. He was different to coaches I had before. He probably didn't say as much, but he actually just let you figure out things yourself, and I really appreciated that. A lot of the time, if he wasn't speaking to you, you were doing a good job, and that was good, but he actually allowed you a freedom to play, whereas other coaches, we spoke about before, would box you into different things and sort of suffocate you a little bit. Ivan gave you freedom to play, and that was a lesson I learned out of him. And also, we've all had coaches that spray you. I don't think I ever saw Ivan when I was playing. I might have seen him have one spray over 2 years.
Yeah, right.
And he didn't need to do it to get his message across, and I think I took a lot of that off him as a coach. And then, he was the coach when I first started coaching and sort of worked under him. He went away for a bit and came back. And, that sort of 3 or 4 year period we had there when he came back. Again, a lot of people probably forget 2019 was hard. And we were getting hammered in the media and things like that. But, again, watching him just being able to stay cool and calm and just sort of ride his way through that and stick to what he believed in, obviously took a lot out of that. Having to go through that last year.
Did he delegate a lot of, if you ever had to spray Nathan, for example, because I remember we had Nathan on the podcast earlier in the year and he spoke that Ivan was never really the one Ivan would never praise him, or he'd chip him, but he wouldn't praise him. If there was a rap needed to give to Nathan for something, would he delegate that to you as his assistant?
He wouldn't openly go and delegate that. In terms of spraying Nathan or anything like, no one needs to, because he just works so hard and does all the little things so well. And again, he's like Stephen. If he was to make a mistake, he'd put his hand up before anyone else would have to do it. But in terms of praising him, like the rest of us as coaches would praise him because his effort areas were always through the roof anyway. So Ivan would never have to get any of us to do it. It would just we'd naturally do it because of the amount of work he puts in.
Ivan wouldn't do it. He's a loveless father.
Yeah. Cold, very cold man. I think you told me a story one time of when it's during a COVID time and Ivan was sick for a couple of weeks, I believe, and he wasn't going into training or anything. And that team, the team that obviously won three premierships in a row now, but that team ended up basically training themselves. Is that true?
Well,
like doing a lot of the field sessions on their own.
Well, Ivan had a knee problem. He was really banged up there for a long period. I think it was 2022. So there was a lot of time that he missed. And you'd think it's like the relief teacher, right? When the coach isn't there, sometimes the lunatics can run the asylum. But this group was just so good at just turning up, and the standards did not drop. When the head coach wasn't there, it's credit to them. Like the leadership from Isaiah Yeo and Nathan during that time was, it's pretty special.
We spoke about Nathan. I want to talk about the effect that 2020 loss to Melbourne had on the particular playing group. We had Nathan here, and he said they went away and looked at themselves after the game and realised that Melbourne bullied them, and they made a pact together. We're never going to let that happen again. Yeah, it's pretty important, that loss. The old got to lose one to win one. In Penrith's cases, it was the case that way.
Well, we had just no grand final experience. I'd forgotten, but I think we'd won 17 straight leading into the grand final, and probably didn't understand what grand finals were about and how they worked, and we got taught a pretty fair lesson that day, and I think that's a lot of the drive behind some of those boys is having to go through that grand final loss. I spoke about Kikau played his 150th the other day, and I was able to speak at his jersey presentation about his transformation over the years, and I really feel like that grand final loss in 2020 was the making of him as a man. He was so talented coming through, and he worked pretty hard, and to get to a grand finals really hard thing to do. But since that moment, I remember looking at him on the field and never seeing a more devastated person. But seeing the man he's turned into since that time is just, he's been driven by that experience.
Sarah, a question for you there, just on Villiame and applies to Matt Burton as well, because things have changed now. Crichton coming across there, but there's an old saying back in the day, the Scottish Highlands, they used to say that there was death, and a fate worse than death was being cast out by the tribe. That was the worst could happen. For those players to see that when Matty Burton and Villiame come over, did you initially see a little bit of that, like there was that, like a pining from where they'd come from?
Oh, Burto had already been there 12 months, so it was hard to say that. And he was so young when he was at Penrith, so didn't really see it. And Villy came over. He came back after the World Cup, come back in January. But he came back a different person as well. The Villy we had at Penrith was different to the one at Bulldogs, and he wanted to come in and be a leader and really set the intensity of everything we did to his own detriment. Like he actually ended up injuring himself by going too hard at train and trying to lead the way and show it. And he rode that first year, last year, 2023, really hard. He took it personally. He was really upset at times, and at different times I thought he was going to come to me and say, I don't know if I can do this, but he didn't. He knew where we were going. He trusted in it, and I've got to say this year he's been outstanding. He's been one of our best players. I feel like he's going to be up there for one of the awards on Dally M night because he's been incredible. And again, it's not the flash stuff and the fancy, the big runs and the offloads that he's been good at. It's been the kick chase, the defence.
Watching this, the very fact, Sarah, you said earlier on, sticking to your principles. And that's, I think, teams, clubs these days, they change their style too often. They're playing Parramatta this week, and they play a certain way. They want to change it all up. And it makes it very hard, particularly for the playmakers, where I can see with your side, you're stuck by principles. Everyone's familiar with what they're doing. And as a consequence, you're seeing all combinations starting to... the left side combination was there from early in the season. Burto, Xerri and Villiame, but now the right side's firing. Now the smaller forwards in the middle are all firing. It's a reward for sticking for those principles.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we're doing the same thing as we're doing at the start of the year. We've had to evolve and understand what works for us and what doesn't, and we're still doing that. We might still be doing that for another 12 months, but as long as they keep coming in with the same attitude, that's exciting.
Right, let's talk about you as a player. Right, as we get... It's going
to
sound
talk about.
No, but this will sound like a silly question to people, but did you enjoy your career?
Probably not as much as I should have. Probably enjoyed it too much to start with, to be honest. And then, as you start to put more pressure on yourself and the anxiety that comes with being in and out of the team, no, I didn't.
No, it's funny, and I think often people look at it and say it's a dream job, and what a blast. But I think if you went to the majority of players, or at least half of the players, and said, "Did you enjoy your career?" Most will say, maybe for a season or two, but overall, the stress, people don't understand the stress and the disappointment, all those things.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm actually lucky. I feel like I'm really lucky to go through it now, to being in the job I'm in now, and sort of being able to relate to the players, being 18th man, being dropped, going back to New South Wales Cup. It's not easy. All your family.
Do you think that's made you a better coach?
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
Being able to have that empathy to go, if you have to sit someone down and drop them out of the team, I've been through it. I know I've been through it more than most, so I understand. You just want honesty to start with. You don't want to be told bullshit. You just want honesty and help moving forward. So,
First grade debut?
Yeah, Shark Park against Melbourne in 2005.
Nice, easy side to play first.
We actually won. We went all right.
Did you knock them over?
We scored, I think it was 40-16 or something. Yeah.
Wow.
Was that
so you'd have walked off saying, this is fucking easy.
I went to Northies straight after, Fusion, got home when the sun came up. I thought,
That's right, I picked you up.
That's another occasion. Who was in that side?
Adam Dykes, Noddy, a couple of my mates I came through with, Reece Williams and Keith Galloway.
Presto?
Kevin Kingston.
Preston Campbell?
No,
he gone to Penrith.
Jason Stevens, Danny Nutley.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Some terrific blokes there. Yeah. You played at Cronulla, you played at Newcastle, played at Penrith. Where did you feel the most comfortable?
I think Cronulla, being a local junior there and coming through with my mates that were there, that was. But I was probably too comfortable. As I said, I reckon I enjoyed the first part of my career way too much, and you play on Saturday night and then go out after that and enjoy the things that came with being an NRL player. And I think it was the best thing that happened to me was actually having to leave Cronulla and go to Newcastle and learn off Brian Smith and learn different culture and just move out of Sydney away from family and things like that was, I think that was actually a blessing in disguise.
What age were you when you debuted?
20.
Oh, okay.
It's funny with Brian Smith, for all Smithy's faults, when people get there and he's a quirky cat, no doubt about that. But he's certainly a great educator.
Oh, there's so much I learned off Smithy that's in what I do today, and I probably learnt the most about footy off Brian, the technical, tactical side of things.
Is he the best coach you ever had?
Oh, I don't know, but I had some good coaches. I was Sticky and Ivan and Brian and guys.
But if you had to, you can only pick one. They're all stranded in the middle of the ocean, and you can save one.
I'll take bits and pieces out of all of it.
Yeah, carve them up. Yeah. What about players? Best player you play with, Ciro?
Oh, it's probably Danny Badiris. I only got 1 year with him, but just such a good bloke and just played above his weight on the field.
Nicest bloke. One of the nicest blokes in rugby league.
Yeah. It's always sorry. Yeah. Although Des is like that. Des's nickname at Manly used to be Sorry. Because, honestly, you could stand on Des's foot and he'd apologise.
Des Hasler?
Yeah. Des's nickname used to be Sorry.
How times have changed now. He doesn't do that at all. One of the boys up at Titans were telling me, and he used to do it at Manly as well, telling me the other day, talk about weird, quirky coaching tactics. You might be able to take this. He'd get the boys who were struggled in defence that week into his office, and he'd get them on the ground and wrestle them and show them how to defend.
Yeah, that's not the weirdest thing. It's the fact they're all nude.
But so bizarre. Hamole Olakawatu told a story at Manly. He was doing video with one of the assistant coaches, and he looked behind him, and just right behind where they were on the computers doing video, Des was telling one of the young front rowers to run at him and was showing him how to use his shoulder in defence. And he said he did it like 10 times.
Is that weird? Is that weird?
That is weird. Yeah. Is that not weird?
What about Ciro? How would you have coached yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Probably would have tried to help me believe in myself a bit more, and I got to remind myself of that a lot of the time. Like it's easy to show people what they're doing wrong, but showing them what they're doing right, is a lot more powerful sometimes. Probably. Yeah, I think I can recognise some of the things that I struggled with in a lot of players these days. But you search as a coach, you're always constantly searching for improvement, so it's easy to show them things that they can do better. And
Decision to retire?
I don't know if it was a decision. I don't think anyone else was going to sign me, and I'd been the last year in rehab, and my body was done.
You had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Broken bones? Is that what you struggled with mainly? Bone issues?
Yeah, broken bones. I lacerated my pancreas in my last ever game. I just had that many different things, but yeah, I probably could have kept playing, but I don't think anyone was going to give me a contract anywhere anyway. So I was actually keen to just get on with the next part of my life, and I could really see the talent the opportunity at Penrith with what Gus was trying to do out there. And so I actually wrote Gus a letter and said I'd love to be involved in this project moving forward. And I didn't know if it was going to be coaching or rehab or welfare, or I just wanted to be involved because I could see the vision that he was putting in out there, and I'm glad I wrote that letter.
So with the pancreas, I just thought of the old man. The old man's got a bad pancreas, but of course he drinks a carton and a half of beer a day. Remember the time, you were too, you remember the time, Jack's here, remember the time the old man had an attack with the pancreas, and we got called in there and they said, I swear to God, I can put salt and pepper on a story, but bring Trish down, she'll tell you. They sat us in a room, and the doctor said to myself and Andrew, your father's a phenomenon, the fact he's still alive. His blood fats are like nothing we've ever seen. And he said, it's really strange because I asked him, does he drink alcohol? And he said, maybe 1 or 2 a day. I said, Doc, I said, mate, it's 1 or 2 cartons a day. He said, don't worry, I'll fill him full of the a bit of painkiller and truth serum. He said, I'll get the best out of you. The next day, I said, how'd you go? And he said, mate, he was bragging about how much he could drink.
Didn't he? They started him on. They said you can never drink again, and he said, "Well, that's not realistic. What can I do?" He said, "But if you drink, you can only drink 2 years old."
It started. He was 0% alcohol. He was drinking 0% alcohol for beer, and then what he was doing, he was getting 0 alcohol beer and a light beer, mixing together. So it was like what? Then he started going light beer. Then he started going light beer with a dash of super. The last shout I'd had with the old man, I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Oh, Matt, get me a 2 years old with a dash of light." I said, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. I will not be fucking doing that. But God bless him. God bless him. The question I was going to ask you there to conclude was basically what was it with you as a player that has made you not just a terrific coach but empathetic? And you've said before, because you've been through that before. What about Ciro? Like, I always say, like, I think there's a few factors that make a great coach. X's and O's is one, but that gets amplified by, number one, people's ability to handle pressure, but number two, the ability to get the message across. You know, the way you talk to a group. Did you have to work on that initially when you first got into coaching?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm actually not that extroverted or anything. I don't like talking in front of big groups or
Cameras,
microphones. But yeah, I just had to find my own style, I think, and I'm not. You talk about Gus before. Gus can come into a room and do a speech at the drop of the hat and have everyone ready to run through a brick wall. And I'd understand I'm not that person. I'll get my message away, hopefully in a different way, and a lot of that's around humour and theming and things like that. And you probably need the right group to do that. And I've been lucky enough to have a really good group at Penrith that sort of related to that and related to me. And then this group currently working with now feels very similar to that. So had to work really hard at being prepared and understanding what messages we were trying to get across, and I'm still learning that stuff.
Looking forward to the back end of this year?
Yeah, looking forward to this weekend, especially getting back to a core and playing at home. We haven't been there for a while, and those experiences have been really good for us, just playing in front of big crowds and passionate Bulldogs fans. But also, our club hasn't been in the finals for a long time, and it's been a long wait, and really excited about what that's going to bring.
Mate, on behalf of Backstage, Matthew and myself, we wish you good luck. You do it,
don't forget the executive producer.
Sorry, and Jack Johns as well.
The great Italian halfback.
Yeah, one of the greats. Yeah, you coached Jack as well. We didn't even touch on that.
And what about you, Coops? Coop joined the Italian camp. I think took the blazer, took the Guernsey, and then basically quit the team.
No, I did one training session, and the week before, I was in talks with clubs. Actually, nearly went to the Bulldogs with Ciro, and then he stopped returning my phone calls.
Geez, you missed out there, Ciro.
Hey, you would have won the preseason trials. That's $100,000 you'll never get back. But
I pity you, Ciro. You really missed out on that one.
Damn it!
Ciro,
would have been on the night.
It much last year, mate.
That's fine. I mean, it would have been on the nice to be on the end with Kikau rather than on the receiving end of him running over the top of me. But what I wanted to get to was great year. It's exciting going into finals for the Bulldogs. Good to see Belmore and the community getting right behind it. They're probably, everyone's really excited talking about the Bulldogs at the moment. They're selling out games. So,
it's a great club.
We love you and we're proud of you.
Thanks, you didn't know where you were going to finish that, did you? You're like a drunk trying to find the doorway in the dark.
Just trying to get home. Anyway, thanks,
Ciro. Good on you, mate.
Me, boys.